Hello and welcome back to the Pedagogically Speaking podcast. My name is Alana Huffer, and I have been a teacher for 16 years now, currently inclusive education teacher in British Columbia. And I really wanted to start this podcast because I really want to create community with teachers, as I feel that we are losing more and more of that community with the loss of collaboration time and the loss of funding for public education. So this is me just really trying to pull a community out there. I just want to say thank you so much for reaching out. I love reading all your emails and reading your comments as well. So thank you and keep those coming. For those of you who don't know, my email is pedagogicallyspeakingpod@gmail.com. So keep sending those in. I really appreciate it. Okay, well, it is currently, what is it, the 22nd of March. And we are on spring break. It is Sunday. Some of you may be going back to work tomorrow. I personally have one more week of spring break, so I'm very grateful to that because, as I think most of you know, even though it's seen as a vacation, it isn't a vacation. A lot of those appointments that we couldn't get to during the school year, we're getting to now. If you have kids, I have one. It's their appointments as well. My husband had a tooth extraction on Monday, and it did go well, which is great, but he didn't react well to it, and it took a long time. I'm just very grateful to our daughter who has always hated camp and has always, unfortunately, talked to her friends about how terrible camp is and how one should never go to camp willingly. But she actually found she's been in dance, and I'm grateful that she loves it so much that she asked to go to a camp this week. So that really, really helped because I was taking care of my husband. I don't think she would have liked to see that. It was pouring rain all week. So I'm very grateful for camp. Thank you to all of you people who are running camps, who are camp counselors, everything. I don't know how you do it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I couldn't have got through the last week without you. So if you're listening to this, I shall assume that you are also on spring break. Maybe it's ending, maybe it's continuing. And so I just really want to talk about mental health strategies for teachers. My mental health um, episodes have been doing really well. So I thought we could just kind of circle back to it in regards to kind of spring break. So if you're anything like me, you crawled to the break. I had one of the hardest terms of my teaching career this past term in 16 years. I don't know if it was the hardest. It was top three at the very least. And certainly my colleagues got me through it. The people that I work with on my team are just absolutely stunningly amazing. And I'm so grateful because then sometimes you get other colleagues who do really mean well, but who will say things and you're already at the end of your rope. You've tried everything. And it's just really hard. And, sometimes they're also like your friends or you're friendly with them and it can really hurt your heart. It hurt my heart. Even was it the last day of school or the second last day of school? I had a teacher who I am friendly with come up to me and I'm sure they meant well, but what they said just absolutely just hurts so bad because I can't control when other people want to have meetings or when I have phone calls from parents or anything. And I have to take things when I take them, right? Just like all of us, we all have to do what we have to do in the time. And so, yeah, what that person said did hurt a bit, but I also kind of shrugged it off somewhat because it was the last, if not the last day, then the last few days of the break, and everyone is high strung and stressed, and we're all just trying to get to spring break. So I do understand that, but it was definitely hard, So calling to spring break, there were report cards, there's dysregulated students, there's staff who are also running on empty, and you're putting that together with mental and physical exhaustion. Like, let's just face it, teaching doesn't just take your energy, it takes your attention, it demands your patience, your decision making, your emotional regulation all day long, co-regulating with students, making snap decisions, trying to keep everyone safe, content, happy, and going along until the break. So then when spring break hits, a lot of teachers don't feel relaxed. You feel numb, or you feel guilty, or like you should be doing something productive. So I really hope that you can take this episode as a permission slip um, to deny any of that rhetoric, because today we're going to talk about how to actually recover and not just survive your break. Okay, so let's talk about stress and burnout, and let's start with something very important. A lot of teachers are burned out. Now, they might not realize that they're burned out. They might think, oh, well, I'm not burnt out. I don't know why other people can't do this. This is fine. But that doesn't actually mean that they're not burnt out. It maybe just means that they haven't recognized those signs. Okay. And that's because it's burnout is becoming so normalized right now, right? Just like violence in schools is becoming normalized and oversized classrooms are becoming normalized. Burnout amongst us is normalized. And so I think let's just discuss some signs that show up specifically in teaching. Okay, so you feel irritated by the small things. You are exhausted, but your brain won't shut off. You are constantly thinking about your class at night, on the weekends, even when you're trying really hard not to. You feel like you are never caught up. You are helping everyone else regulate while you yourself are dysregulated. I think like the biggest one too is that you are starting to feel detached from something that you used to really, really care about. I didn't realize that I was burning out years ago, and I really wish I had that checklist because I maybe would have seen it before I had a panic attack at school, where the school counselor had to pick me up from the floor and put me into my office. And then I had to leave work. And I went on a medical leave for weeks. And if I had had a checklist, if I had understood what it meant, maybe I could have done better, or I could have started taking myself earlier without such a big wake up call. So if you are feeling like your brain won't shut off, if you are feeling irritated by small things, if you're constantly thinking about your class, if you feel like you're never caught up and you're feeling detached from something that you used to care about, that isn't just losing passion. Okay. It's your system saying this is too much for too long. There's a reason this is happening. Teaching is one of the few professions where you are on every minute of the day, no real downtime, no quiet processing time. It's constant input and output. I know I'm not the only one that has meetings before, after school, and at lunch. In fact, I desperately try to have as many meetings during lunch as I can so that I don't have them during the school day and I have to cancel learning supports. I'm constantly having people come in during my breaks and ask me for help or my preps. I don't even really know what a prep is. And I know I'm not the only one. You are all experiencing this as well. So if you're also feeling depleted right now, it makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about kind of recognizing those signs of burnout. Let's talk about some stress management. Let's talk about what actually helps without making it feel like another thing on the to-do list, okay? I want to talk about mindfulness. And I'm not going to tell you to meditate for 30 minutes, but if you can do that, that's amazing. I am going to give you something simple though. And it's something that I'm sure you've done with your class, but I don't know if you're doing it after work or when you feel like you need it. And that's breathing in for 4, holding for 4, and then breathing out for 6. Do that 5 times, okay? Because what you're doing when you can do that is telling that your nervous system that you're safe now and you can slow down now. Because Right now, your body is still in classroom mode. Let's also talk about moving your body gently. If you like a hardcore workout, excellent. If that's something where there's no barriers for you to do, go out and do it if you love it. If there are barriers for you to do a hardcore workout, and one of those barriers can absolutely be, I don't feel like it, I don't want to, that's not for me right now, absolutely fine. But what can you do to move your body gently? Because you need circulation. Okay? Can you go for a walk? Can you do some stretching? Can you get outside? Teaching keeps you in a constant state of tension, and movement is how you release that. The Nagoski sisters talk so much about how the burnout cycle, that stress is in your body. How can you get through it? You see some people, I don't know if you watch Bridgerton. Which one is the one with Anthony and Kate? Is that season 2? Yeah, it's season 2. That's right. Because Daphne's in it a little bit. Um, and you can see Kate whenever she's like has something that kind of upends something that she thinks about or confronts her, she does a little shake. She flicks her wrist, does a little shake, and that's also just getting some of that stress out of your system. So what can you do for it? I do like going to CrossFit. I have a gym that I go to that is mere blocks away from my apartment building. I live in an apartment. I cannot afford a house. I never will be able to. Um, and so a lot of those barriers are down. I don't necessarily like not working out with people, but I've enough people that I know at the gym that if I see them on the list, then I'm very happy to go or we all have favorite coaches and things like that. And then it's good because someone else is telling me to do something. I scale it. I can't do a rope climb. So I pull the sled. I can't do jump rope because I have had knee surgery and I'm not at that level yet. So I do the ski erg. So it's super, super scaled, which means that I can't really say no to it because I can do the things. For me, I also it was the hardest term I've ever had. Well, it was top 3. It was definitely the hardest term I've had in years at least. And I kind of am also leaning into CrossFit right now. I'm sorry, I'm very emotional. It was a really hard term. I'm leaning into CrossFit right now too because I kind of need that reminder that I can do hard things. I really need that reminder that I can look at a hard thing, do the hard thing, and actually feel really good about it. Thank goodness for endorphins when you work out. Am I right? It really helps because, yeah, I understand that with reflection, I can understand that I looked at this past term and I did indeed live through it, survive it. I think I did well. I certainly did my best and I poured my heart and soul into everything that I did, like always. But it was to an extreme measure for too many weeks though. And so I really needed this break. And I think I just really need to be reminded that I can do hard things and I can get through them because the thing too about teaching is that sure you've gone through a hard term, but there's another term coming and statistically it's going to be similar, right? Maybe it's the same. And if you've had the hardest term or one of the hardest terms and you're going into another term, yeah, it's kind of you're thinking you got to get through the next one, right? That's kind of nice when the hardest term you have is the last term because then things will change in the next year. But yeah, so that's definitely what I need. But I've also been doing a lot of just of walking too and getting outside. And I like being able to see the water. And I'm very fortunate where I live. I can get to the water and walk around it. So that's how I've been releasing that. But as you can hear, it's still there and I have to keep going with it. It's an ongoing thing of support, right? And another thing that I've been doing also is that I've been really limiting my screen time. I'm talking to you right now, but I haven't had any screen time for days. And I certainly have not been watching a lot of teacher content, especially because not everyone is on spring break right now. And I do understand that that can be really, really difficult because we all need to be a little bit zoned out, don't we? Um, but I think really, that scrolling the teacher Instagram and planning lessons right now, reorganizing your classroom in your head, you know, if you need a rest, and you do need a rest, doing all of those things, that's not actually resting. You're just doing a different you're just doing a different version of work, really. So if that kind of scares you to kind of plug out that way, then try a small boundary. And if you're scrolling, maybe don't do anything school related. Like, don't do any school related content before noon or not for the first 4 hours of your day. Give your brain a break from being on. So I think really when we're looking at this too, we also need to discuss work life balance. And I think it's a really good idea to talk about something that teachers struggle with deeply: boundaries. So I think let's look at setting a hard boundary with work. You do not need to get ahead. And I use air quotes because, like, what is getting ahead? Like, how ahead are you getting before the term ends? Right? Like, how ahead can you get this week off? Especially if you really want to get ahead, you need to look at your own recovery. You need to recover so you can sustain yourself for the rest of the year. So I think this is something that I'm going to do is that I'm picking one day, just one. And I want you to do this too, where you are completely offline from school. No email, no planning, no popping into the teacher store, as great as it is at Telecom Mall. No, just checking something. Okay. Like, take that hard boundary. This is the day that has nothing to do with school. And if you remember something, like, jot it down, fine, and then quickly forget about it. And then you can look at it the day that you're going to be looking at work stuff. Because I know it takes a lot, like, of training, and you have to really want it, but thoughts can come into our brains and then we can let them go. We don't need to keep ruminating on it or thinking about it or develop the idea further. We can say, oh, yeah, that is not a thought that I'm going to have today. And so you just breathe it away, like blow it away like a balloon or a bubble. It does take a lot of work. I have had to learn it because I have had to set strict boundaries with things, with school. I don't know why I'm saying with things. With school, I've had to set strict boundaries with my job, my career, my passion, because if I don't, I will be consumed by it. And I refuse to be consumed by something. I'm in charge of this. And even if it takes a lot of practice and a lot of work, I will continue to be in charge of how I rest and what I think about on my days off. I think another thing we should be doing is schedule your downtime. If you don't plan rest, it doesn't happen. And we know this. If we don't put in our calendars, whatever planning looks like to you, if you don't plan for a play date for your children, it doesn't happen. If you don't plan to go out to drinks with your friends, it doesn't happen. If you don't plan to go out to dinner, it doesn't happen. So you need to start scheduling your fun times, your rest. Okay. Or else you're just going to fill that time with errands, with responsibilities, and with quick things. Okay. So actually write down a slow morning, a coffee date, time outside, doing nothing. And I know I can hear you saying that you're going to feel guilty about it. Do not feel guilty about doing nothing. Don't do it, because then, like, what does that set up for yourself in the future? What does that set up for anyone who is looking to you for guidance too? Like, I hate to put that pressure on you, but come on. You've got to schedule rest. And if your rest is lying down on the couch eating popcorn, then schedule it. If it's doing nothing, schedule it. Make sure your morning is free if you can and whenever you can. I understand this isn't going to be easy. I understand that you are having a hard time prioritizing yourself, but now is the time to start, because the more you practice it, as we all know, because we're teachers, the easier it becomes. Okay? Because rest needs to be structured too. I think a third thing that we can do as well is reconnect with something that isn't teaching. And this is a big one for me. Teaching can slowly become our entire identity. I was talking about this with a friend at lunch the other day at a pasta bar. Delicious, love pasta. And they were saying, I'm going to stop telling people I'm a teacher. And not because they don't want to be a teacher or anything like that. They're a very passionate teacher, great teacher. Actually creates resources too. It's very cool. But because why is that our first thing? So I'm taking that on board. It's taken me. So I had this lunch earlier, like maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I oh yeah, 2 weeks ago. It's taken me 2 weeks to process that, because I'm like, well, whatever. Yeah, I'm a teacher. I'm a mom. Da da da. But like, is that all that I am? Certainly not. Is that all I bring to the world? Absolutely not. So I'm trying to think of like, how do I, like, we think about how do we want to present ourselves to the world? Well, how do we want to like talk about ourselves? You know, like, oh, my name's Alana Heffer and I love reading nonfiction and I love water and being near water or in water. I love being outside. What are some things that you can say about yourself that is your identity, that isn't teaching? And I really want you to ask yourself, what did you used to enjoy before teaching took over? And I understand a lot of teachers have wanted to be teachers since they were kids. My friend Ray in Australia always knew she wanted to be a teacher. That's not me. I did not know I wanted to be a teacher. And I came into teaching differently, although I can understand that it was kind of always, it looked like, when looking back, I'm like, oh, yeah, I was always going to be a teacher. But it's definitely not something that I had thought of when I was younger. So no matter if you always wanted to be a teacher or not, what is something that you enjoyed before teaching took over? Was it reading? Was it working out? Was it creating? Did you love just being bored? Some people love that. I do too. And I want you to go back to that, even just a little bit. Okay. So we've discussed, scheduling your downtime. We discussed that you need to reconnect with something that isn't teaching. And I'd really like to go to building a support network. Okay. Because teaching is so isolating. You're in a building full of adults and it is so isolating. And you're surrounded by people all day and maybe you don't even get breaks. But it's isolating because not everyone understands what this job actually feels like. I've been reconnecting. I am not great at talking to friends, meeting up with friends, anything. And I am building that back into my life right now. So I'm trying to have a monthly lunch date with a friend of mine. I'm trying to meet with another friend for coffee when I can. I'm working 5 days a week now, so that's going to be a little more tricky. Um, but I'm texting as much as possible. I'm starting to write letters to my friends, Ray and Laura, um, regularly, or postcards, anything, because I want to keep these connections going. And so I also just don't want to feel so isolated. So this break, if you can, reach out, text a friend, or, message a friend. Can you meet someone for coffee? Can you talk to someone who gets it, who understands what teaching is? It's not necessarily needing a formal support group, but if you have one, great. I do know friends. I mean, I've moved around so much that I don't have friends in this place that I've had for a long time. And some people are still living where they've been living there for a long time. And so you do have those support networks. You do have those besties that you go to wine country with, which I'm very jealous of. Um, or maybe you're in a book club, which is really just a wine club. I'm happy for either. But for those of us who don't have it, it's not that you need a formal support group, but we need connection. You need connection. Even just one conversation where you can say, yeah, this has been hard. It matters more than you think. For me to be able to talk to you and tell you how hard my term has been and kind of almost cry, it's a lot. I really appreciate all of you and all of your emails and responses that make me feel very comfortable being vulnerable, because you've all been so vulnerable with me, and I appreciate that. But I also go and see people and talk to people, and let's all try to do that too. If you know that you're a person who doesn't always try to connect, or you find excuses to not have the time to do it, let's all do that now. Let's all pause this and text someone. Okay, I think it's really important. Okay, let's reframe and talk some truth, okay? I want to give you something to hold on to. You are not tired because you are doing a bad job. You are tired because your job requires you to give constantly with very little space to refill, no matter what people say about the breaks that we get. So the goal of this break is not to become a better teacher. You are an amazing teacher, okay? The goal of this break is to become a rested human being, because that's what you need. That's what your students actually need when you come back. All right, let's bring this together. This break, focus on calming your nervous system, moving your body, setting boundaries with work and how you interact with work, reconnecting with yourself, reaching out to others. Not perfectly, but do all of those things intentionally. And if you take nothing else from this episode, please take this. You do not have to earn your rest. You do not have to justify your rest. You do not have to be productive enough to deserve rest. You are allowed to pause. All right. Well, if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear what is one thing you're doing this spring break to take care of yourself. Share it, message me, or post it. Remember, you can email me, pedagogically speaking pod@gmail.com. Because when teachers start talking honestly about all of this, it absolutely changes things. All right. I'm your host, Alana Huffer. Please take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you next week.